Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to VMworld. Well, I'm going to try to live up to their new brand name for the conference, Ready for Any. I truly believe our view sessions that we run throughout our whole health system are ready for any. But that's my opinion. Let me see what you guys think. I'll talk about our strategy a little bit. Talk about definitely our experience that resulted from our strategy. Then I'm going to talk about our strategy of where we're going, especially with graphics. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ivor Zapsite. I'm the technology strategist for MetroHealth. We're a rather small health system. I'll get a title slide about that later on. But my job is basically to get both MetroHealth into trouble technologically and then figure out how to get us out of it. And it's a fun job. Sometimes it's very stressful, also very rewarding. And our view deployment, you'll see from, I think, our user experience, it's a very rewarding success. Okay, let's do a little bit. Obviously, virtual desktops. Many of us here have heard of virtual desktops. All right, I want to kind of get a sense for the audience. Who has virtual desktops rolled out across the whole organization? Holy moly, more than I thought. That's about a good 40%, if not 50%. Amazing. All right, how many here have an active pilot of virtual desktops still running, trying to figure this thing out? Okay, a good 25% of the audience. How many here have had pilots and are still stuck in pilot mode and can't seem to get past pilot mode? Don't be afraid to say, I have, it's okay. I talk to a lot of hospitals that are stuck in pilot mode. Okay, only a handful. Hopefully, maybe you'll glean some nuggets. Now, these nuggets will be our opinions and our success factors, but I think they can carry forward into other organizations. All right, and just for the sake of curiosity, because I'm very curious, how many here actually have implemented Citrix or use Citrix as a lot of their application deployment application enablement? All right, also about half. All right. Our virtual desktops have been wildly successful. And people always say, well, how successful are they? Well, I put together about 2 years ago a calculation that kind of surprised me because the cost savings of our virtual desktops seem to be just enormous. I'm talking like annual $2 million a year in time savings. And we actually I looked at how those things may be correlated to our bottom line because our bottom line was going up. And I'll show you a slide later on where our bottom line went up significantly. Had two unique occurrences that occurred there, and I'll mention that there. But our virtual desktop wasn't just cost savings. There was a lot of things regarding, security, quick application upgrades and delivery. It has many success factors for us. I'm not going to talk about those here. That I've done before. But what was interesting is the cost savings caught the eye of the IDC. Because, to be honest, I was a bit skeptical about numbers. I've done ROIs, but nothing to that scale. Nothing that said, man, we're delivering a chunk of savings for MetroHealth. So the IDC took me up on my challenge and saying, validate my numbers. And I calculated $2 million. They actually came back and said 2.75 with an ROI that just surprised me. It'll get out less than a year. Now, I truly believe this. We live this. So this is, if I have a point where I'm going to evangelize this solution, it's because it brings cost savings to every organization that does it right. Now, you can do virtual desktops wrong, and I've talked to numerous of y'all who do desktops, in my opinion, wrong, and you wonder why you have problems, all right? You got to think about it. And some of those wrongs, you have to challenge your sacred cows. More about that later. Who's MetroHealth? We're a small regional healthcare system in West Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. 208-bed hospital, rather modest. But I think we're the perfect size that to try something like virtual desktops and make them click. We're able to turn the organization pretty quickly, and we have a very, technologically savvy group of employees. They want to make a difference for healthcare. We've been doing virtual desktops for more than 8 years. Kind of hard to believe. 8 years ago, we were looking around to do virtual desktops. Our CIO had this crazy vision of being able to dynamically reconnect you to your active desktop. He didn't care how you got it done, but he actually thought it'd be better if you did it in a desktop running in the data center than your actual PC. So he drove that vision home 8 years ago. Looked around, we couldn't find anything that met our needs, especially for kind of a non-persistent desktop, which the terminology didn't even exist 8 years ago. And to be able to reconnect you in 10 seconds or less to that active desktop was just kind of a crazy wish. We had a pretty dedicated data center engineer who wrote her own first broker system that did just that. They were non-persistent sessions, unfortunately. They were persistent sessions. But you could reconnect to your active desktop in less than 10 seconds. So that was back in 2007 when we moved into our new hospital. Some great wild success stories of how we acclimated all of our physicians. There's a strategy behind it involving all of our user base and transitioning them from a physical desktop to a virtual desktop. We spent time getting people through little training sessions, through user experience sessions. They actually came to love it. I remember having one department that was married to the PCs, would not get off the PCs. We moved to the hospital, and when they realized that, it still took them 3, 4, 5 minutes to log into their PC, and we had users log into their view session, to their virtual desktop sessions, 10 seconds or less. I got the phone call the next day after we moved saying, get us on the virtual desktops. We want that quick access. All right, as I said, we had a kind of an aha moment when we are, for nonprofit, I mean, you measure your nonprofit in tenths of a percentage point. Well, we had a significant, almost a full percentage point jump in profits, where we did something rather unique. We went live with, in here, whoa, way ahead. Sorry about that. We jumped live on VMware View 6. We moved off our old platform onto View 6, and we went live with Epic Inpatient within the same month. When we kind of impact, our strategy with our CIO kind of is, well, if you're going to make the organization really change, let's make that change worthwhile. So you'll see that when we make our changes, they're not often just one big change. They're often one big change followed on by another big change right away. Now, we work really hard to make those changes work exceedingly well, so they're effective and they're positive. But that's what we did. And when we noticed that we had a 1% jump in profits, we were wondering, well, okay, Epic does something because Epic is an integrated platform. But we looked at when the time savings came, and we were giving physicians back every day about a half an hour of their time. Nurses were given back about 50 minutes of time every day. Other task workers were given anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes, also back in time, based on their mobility, how much they had to move around the organization. You can see where all that time returned back to the staff, translated into profit. Makes sense. That's what the IDC helped us figure out. Today, as you see, version 4, we're on View 5.3. We're still on View 5.3. We're very close to moving to View 6. Why? Because we have moved because View 5.3 works very well for us. And again, we're looking for the right catalyst to move us to version 6. Now, boy, these buttons here. Sorry about this. These, version 1 through 3, you'll see a slide that version 3 was a bit rocky. Version 1 and 2 were rocky. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It was working well for us. But version 4, the platform we're on now, absolutely rocks. The technology has gone transparent. Well, this sounds boring to maybe a lot of engineering. Well, let me ask, how many here represent engineering? Technology engineers, the guys who, touching their knobs and make sure everything works right and, stay up, call, make, okay, good. How many here actually represent IT leadership or represent some form of IT? Okay, quite a few of you guys, good. All right. This will resonate with the IT leadership and your engineering types. You gotta listen to this because this is what drives the organization forward. You have to have a strategy. You have to believe in that strategy that IT leadership is promoting and that the business strategy and IT strategy are in sync. If you're not going to get somewhere. But then engineers, your job is to support that strategy and make it sync seamlessly with what the organization needs. We took our strategy and boiled it down for view that the VDI desktop had to work as seamlessly and as well as any functioning PC desktop, preferably better. And that had to include graphics. It became a mantra for some of us internally. And we're there today. And there's technologies that we'll talk about here that can make it even better that we're getting excited about. As Isaac Newton says, some things just have their time. Now, a good friend of mine, Jim Vandermeer, and I were talking about our View desktop. Why is it so successful? What happened? What did View do for us? And View reduces the friction. It takes on the friction of a variety of workflows and just makes that friction go away. It handles that friction seamlessly. So think about it. You've got a workplace just filled with interruptions. Healthcare is filled with interruptions. I mean, there's just things going on constantly. You guys have all experienced healthcare. There's always another priority. And that priority has to be handled by something. Well, View aligns itself to those many, many interruptions. And then it seamlessly transitions the user, it helps the user transition from workflow to workflow, from user to user, as they move from location to location. And the main reason why, because it has a virtual desktop, that's your full virtual desktop available to you to use at any point in time. It is not a assembled desktop. It is not something that has a lot of plugins. It is a full desktop running virtually. That's the key differentiator. So it reduces the friction of workflows. Strategies, specific strategies, involve those that empower, can make a difference to the organization. First of all, View has to address the whole workforce, but then address those that are key, your key engines for your industry. In healthcare, it's the physician. The physician's the only one that can admit someone into the hospital. The physician's the only one that can discharge someone from the hospital. The physician's the only one that can place an order, place a script. Now, you have all the other clinical staff that make that physician successful. You have to listen to them too. But you have to embrace your physicians. But that's hard. Yeah, physicians have their opinions. They're not focused about how well our technology works. They're focused on getting you better if you're in a hospital, or they're trying to make you better if you visit them in their office. They're not trying to milk you for your money. They want you better physically. They are compassionate. And when technology gets in the way, they let you know. But when technology makes something happen for their benefit, they also let you know. This week, it's Epic's UGM, or the big user group meeting for Epic. Our CIO and CMIO are speaking about this exact same topic, on how successful we've been with virtual desktops at Epic. It's a story that's got to get told. The last point on the slide is, obviously, okay, any device, I mean, that's a common device. Believe it or not, we actually still have physicians that do log in from their phones in emergent situations, and they'll play scripts. I've got testimony from a physician in the parking lot, from a physician on the chairlift of all things. Okay? In emergent situations, you need quick access to your full desktop, period, so you can access all your applications. And the technology has to disappear. Today, the virtual desktops have gone transparent at MetroHealth. Our users do not realize that when they go up to a zero client and they're logging into a desktop, it's not the PC there. It looks like the PC there. It acts like one, but it's running in the data center. They don't realize that. All of the complaints now that come in pretty much are, my application doesn't run fast. I can't get this USB device to talk to my virtual desktop. I can't get this application to talk to the application. Make it work better. Well, those are complaints I want to work on. I don't want to work on, hey, it took me 25 seconds to log in again, guys, what's going on? Or, gee, my icons didn't show up again, why? You know, those have disappeared from MetroHealth. This slide is really the crux of where my presentation should be, because I should spend probably the whole presentation on this slide, strategy. But I'm not. This slide is also going to cause me I'm going to say something quite controversial here in a little bit, but it's for a reason, because it's my opinion or MetroHealth's opinion, really. But people say that View VDI specifically is quite complex. And to be honest, I admit, implementing virtual desktops is not for the faint of heart. You have to have a solid plan in place. You have to address all these strategies. You have to take time to address all these strategies. You better have all these strategies in play. Now, people say, well, that's why. See, all this complexity. You know, all this complexity makes View difficult to implement, or any virtual desktop solution to implement. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, you have these complexities in your organization today, right? If you don't, I'd like to know where you are, because, man, that'd be kind of cool to work for you guys. Okay? They exist today. Second of all, if you don't take time to think them through, well, there's no reason why you got some problems with your organization. Now, as an IT leader, my job is to identify technologies that you do not need, or you can maybe remove because they add more complexity than is needed. I kind of purposely asked, how many Citrix users are there? We don't use Citrix. We do not have Citrix in-house. And I know I'm not making Citrix, nor some people who are very pro-Citrix here are happy. But again, this is our opinion. This doesn't have to be your opinion, but it is our opinion that Citrix adds a significant layer of complexity into the VDI solution that will cause you more headaches. Okay, I'm done beating up on Citrix. All right, some of our lessons learned. Obviously, some of these things you're going to go, well, that's obvious. Well, yeah. Build a spec, but dang it all, build a good spec, okay? Don't go taking your vendor spec. Don't go taking a best practice document from someone and turning it into a spec. Connect with your users. Connect with your power users. Connect with those that are vocal. Tell them what they need. Tell them what needs to work better. For those of you who have VDI implemented, okay? How many of you would say your VDI environment's working great? Awesome. Okay, I commend you guys. Good job. Why are there only 20 hands that just went up? Okay, to the IT leadership and to the engineers, both. These guys and ladies who lift their hands up probably have taken the time to listen and then make the appropriate changes. To the rest of you who have VDI environments that are struggling poorly, take time to listen to your users and say, what is it that's not working well, and then make the appropriate changes, be it in the technology, be it in the way how you've configured or interconfigured technology, and then the most controversial point, in your staffing. You have some people, some engineers, who love the old technology that they were working with. And they will do anything in their power to make sure that you know how good that old technology is good. And there's always that one point or two things that it does better than all the others. Yep, we had it. We liked Citrix for one big thing. It was able to make specific application upgrades very quick for us. But we found even a better way to do it with our view environment. But we couldn't do that if we didn't just flush Citrix out of our system. Okay? It was not a popular choice back then, but a very effective choice. So, work on your specs. When we put a version 4 of EDI system in our CIO, give me a challenge. It said, Ivers, that thing better be snappy. Sure, I'll make it snappy. But then I thought, what the heck is snappy? So I went back to some of our teams and said, okay, guys, define snappy. They came up with 9 metrics of snappy. These are metrics you can time. And I ran it by my CIO and said, okay, if we meet these, will they be snappy? And he goes, yeah, heck yeah. Last summer, he went on record saying, we've delivered a snappy system. That was a good day for me, since it was my spec that had to go in. Now, I'll tell you how we're going to make snappy even better here in the future. All right, another lesson learned. Obviously, from the tech side, when you buy a VDI solution, don't under CPU resource it, okay? We, at the time, bought as much CPU as, CPU, this is, solid state. My bad. Okay, let's go solid state. You probably wonder, what the heck am I talking about? Solid state. This is probably one of the differentiators in our view solution. We want full solid state. There's no spinning disk at all in our solution. Now, we're running on the HP 3-par 7450. There are others. I saw Extreme IOs in the back here, and I'm sure any number of solid state people are here. It is a key differentiator in how virtual desktops are delivered. Night and day difference. Also, definitely think about how many controllers you add to your solution and make sure that all controllers can handle multipathing. We purposely went out because we learned about IOPS in version 1. It was a nightmare. We had literally an antivirus update, went out, and it choked our servers because we had basically 2 controllers, but each controller wasn't really multipath, and it went down to one disk aggregate, and it choked the solution as 60 virtual desktops unpacked a antivirus update. Okay? When you aggregate your controllers, and they're all multipath, they can talk to any disk aggregate, your throughput goes away. I can't show you all the slides that demonstrate the success of it, okay? But the virtual desktops hum like anything when you remove that latency out of the solution by providing multiple paths. We had one of the heads go bad on us. They go bad. I mean, technology fails. Plan on it. So we went down from 4 heads to 3. You saw the utilization go up a little bit, but we were able to replace the head, put it back online, and again, no harm, no foul. For those of you running 2 controller systems, and one head goes bad, especially got inline dedupe turned on, or any other higher end technology turned on, you should be quite nervous, because then you have one controller feeding that whole disk aggregate, and it is not a pretty situation to be in. You're sweating bullets. So design the right infrastructure. Also, this is something that the network team screams a lot, and I just want to say, take time to design the right network and also tune it. I mean, you wouldn't want to listen to a violinist who hasn't tuned their violin, right? My daughter plays violin. She has perfect pitch. I'm blessed when I hear her play. I don't like hearing her tune that violin, okay? It's wrong, okay? Well, if you don't tune your network, it's wrong. Pay attention to those tuning guides. All right, here's my CPU slide. When you buy CPU, max out, buy as much CPU as you can, buy as many cores as you can. Remember, you're sharing resources in the data center. Okay, we run on average, 60, 70, sorry, we run on average 80 to 90 users per host. We can scale them to about 150 in an emergent situation. Interestingly, when we bought our solution and took a lot of time looking at it, Epic hadn't really researched their solution yet. Their solution surprisingly mirrored ours. Man, these buttons. So Epic and us kind of co-developed that solution. Also, RAM. Don't skimp on RAM, ever. Our version 3 had 192 gigs of RAM. Our version 4 solution has 512 gigs of RAM. It can scale to 768 in case I need more. Plan that headroom, but utilize the memory. Okay? Other benefits or other things that we've implemented that really make a difference for us. We believe in single sign-on. We use Imprivata. It is a significant enabler that adds, again, valuable seconds for every application the user needs to touch for their job that needs to pass credentials. Okay? Now, that's not a VDI solution, but it's an and. It adds to the benefit. And since you have a bunch of applications that require credentials, both on-prem and cloud-based, why wouldn't you use a single sign-on solution? Curious, how many of you here do use single sign-on? Really? Only about half of y'all? All right, for those of you who didn't raise your hands, how many applications on average do you know of that require credentials? Is it, who has more than 30 applications that require credentials? A few hands. Who has more than 40? Okay, who has about 10 or so? Okay, more hands. Even, okay, 10 applications. I'm actually kind of surprised. But even 10 applications that require credentials that you don't have, they don't support a single sign-on solution. How many times you type those and get them wrong? It takes 5 seconds at least to get you to type your credentials, and that's if you're typing fast. Typically, it's about 8 seconds, right? If you type them wrong, you're 15 seconds. If you do this over and over again throughout the day, you're adding time to a user. Come on, put some single sign-on in. All right, persona management. Huge for us. This enables our part of our snappiness, if you will. Because we use non-persistent desktops, we're able to overlay the persona into the virtual desktop and make it theirs. It makes it usable. I think VMware has got it figured because they just purchased Immedial recently, right? We use Profile Unit from Liquidware Labs. There are many others out here in the show. Okay, go look at them. Check them out. All right? Persona is important. Very important for non-persistent desktops. Yeah, if you've got static desktops, okay, you don't need persona. Okay? But then again, you're not utilizing your infrastructure effectively. Well, let me talk about that a little bit. That's not on my slide. Since it gave me a whole hour, give you a little bit of scaling about how our infrastructure is designed and what it addresses and how it handles our user base. We have about 5,000 active users in our whole AD. Concurrent, we're licensed for 2,500 concurrent view sessions. So right about half is what we're licensed for. So that right away signals our usage compared to licensing. Actual is about 1,900 to 2,100 users are logged in at any point in time, logged in. And about 1,000 users to 1,200 users are actively using their virtual desktop at any point in time. So there are huge economies of scale when you put virtual desktops into your data centers, and then by the dumbest or by the most simplest endpoints you can, to enable that functionality virtually. All right? For healthcare, for any 24-hour shop, it is a big differentiator in how you can, it's a transformative technology, right? Also, application packaging. Here's where we learned what doesn't work well, okay? I spoke against Citrix, I said I could spoke against them, okay? So they're out. Okay, we also thought then, we know Microsoft. Microsoft should know what they're doing. We put an SCCM, tried to make SCCM work. I'm sorry, Microsoft. For all the years you've actually had to get a product right to address a specific user with a specific application requirement and make sure that you can deliver an update to that app for that user on time. Okay, I hear a bunch of snickers. You know what I'm talking about, right? We threw it out. SCCM is junk for a virtual desktop environment. We actually, personally, again, I wouldn't recommend you all run into this, although I'm sure Novell would like you to. We use Novell ZenWorks. It's a product that we've used for years, and it does a phenomenal job in assigning the specific user, the specific application it needs for that specific time they need to use it. Then back-end, we use ThinApp to deliver that app today. Now we're looking at app volumes. And there are other competitors to app volumes. Check them out. But first of all, notice what I'm talking about. It's user acceptance, user delivery. Think through how you deliver applications to your user. Okay? I'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right. There's more I could share, but I only got an hour or two, so I get to the point where I have some time for questions. What is some of the actual user experience our users have seen? Well, kind of hard to tell you what our users have actually seen because it's user specific. However, we got some really cool graphs that show quite a bit of difference. This one is version 3. What I want to call it, and this here is version 4. What this chart shows, did I label it? Oh yeah, Epic system. Well, this is our exceptions. These are users that experienced a minimum 5-second wait in a workflow, and a user that may have experienced a 10-second or longer wait in a workflow. Yellow is 5 seconds, red is 10 seconds. Notice where our heartaches were. Mornings when you logged in. Notice these are our users logging on Mondays and Tuesdays. And then coming back for lunch. Because we still can't get all of our users to remember that, no, they have a quick disconnect button on the session. They actually log off, then they log back in. Okay, well, that's a user training issue, okay? However, version 4, based on the new infrastructure we put in. Look at, we had almost 400 users, actually in some cases over 400 users, having 10-second or longer wait times in their workflows. That is unacceptable, in my opinion. But yet our users are putting up with it because all the other benefits of virtual desktops are delivering them in version 3 or version 2 that we put in. But look at now. We're barely cracking 30. And look at our 5-second waits. Some mornings we crack 100. But that's it. Think we have happy users now? Well, they're a lot happier, I can tell you that much. All right, what's some other stuff that we've captured? This slide, I printed this slide. I ran around the whole organization showing off this slide. This slide was phenomenal when I printed it off over a year ago. Not quite a year ago, this spring. This slide shows 2 types of metrics from at least the healthcare Epic sample. But this is what our users experience using the application that predominantly touches everyone in healthcare. If you're a clinician, you will document something in Epic, period. Okay? So this touches every user at MetroHealth that's healthcare oriented. All right. This is important right here because this is when we're on version 3. This is our old technology. It's inconsequential who I was running on, what we were running on, but it's old technology, okay? you can see that what's important here is, notice the dotted lines. These are Epic aggregates. These are what Epic measures across all of their users across every organization that's purchased Epic. So we are measured against their averages. So what are we measured against? The left-hand side is the exception percentages. Again, the 5 and 10-second aggregate. I'll talk about those in a second here. And on the right-hand side is actual response time. How long it takes. Well, the average response time is just, back then, it's inching over a second, okay? Now, notice, we're on version 3 here. Version 4, we went live right here in May of 2014. Now, we're still running XP. Now, we're still running just over Epic's averages. We're running on Windows XP and Epic 2010. In October of 2014, we upgraded to Windows 7. This system was tuned to run on Windows 7. We knew we'd rock performance. We did not know how much and how significant that would be. Didn't have the scale test. So we upgraded it in Epic. Actually, that blip there, believe it or not, was a ZenWorks patch. It didn't handle one of our dynamic roaming issues. We had to get a patch for it. But then when we implemented, look what happened. We're running now below Epic's trending. 2 weeks later, after we upgraded, Epic calls and says, "What'd you guys do?" We never thought of calling them, telling them that we're upgrading. And they called us and said, "What did you guys do?" We said, "Why? Nothing." "Yes, you did. You did something. You guys are running way below our averages, performance averages." And they said, "Well, we upgraded to our, to Windows 7. That's it." And they went, "Oh my word! Look at what you're doing." And then they showed us this graph. Phenomenal results. Now, there's an uptick there in January of this year. That's when we upgraded to Epic 2015. Epic has stated that from 2010 to 2012 and 2012 to 2014, it's about a 20% increase in resource requirement for every client. The client's called Hyperspace, and they say for every new version, it'll take 20% more resources. And that's about right. It consumed that much more resource. So hence, we are now pretty much in line with the response time. Here's a chart that's a lot more current. Because I've removed the crazy scale, it's a whole lot more granular. Now, look where Epic's trending up. Okay? Our response time is about 0.1% lower. Now, that doesn't look big, but in my opinion, it's still significant. This is how well the system's tuned, how well it's performing for users. But what I really want to call is the exception percentages. These are the things on the client that make our users wait 5 or 10 seconds. Half of our users are waiting compared to the industry average. I will take this slide to the bank every day now because this really is giving our users back even more time than I had calculated. Again, huge proof of concept that the View solution really works, and it works exceedingly well. All right, graphics. A lot of us, I want to make a point here. A lot of us, when we implement virtual desktop, we're a bit paranoid, right? You're really not sure. You're always not concerned about the success of it, right? So you always look for the worst. I think you can see that why I'm the opposite. I'm a bit pronoid about VMware View. What's pronoid mean? Well, I think, from my perspective, VMware has been secretly plotting our success behind our backs. All right? So, cheesy humor, sorry. Graphics. We did an analysis on how many environments in MetroHealth use graphics. There's a lot of things that use graphics. But we can't lose sight of even some of the most simple things that use graphics. You know, HTML5 browsers. Anytime I spin up a browser now, my graphics utilization goes up. All these applications use graphics. Just by a kind of a show of hands, not here, I'm sorry, at Metro, I tell, okay guys, you know, what do you think? How many percent of users, you know, is it going to be, you know, 25 to 40, 40 to 60, or 60 on up? And most people just with Metro say that'll be about 40 to 60% of users immediately will need more graphics support here in the next year or so. It's trending quickly that way. So I said, well, that means I got to get the VDI environment ready for it. Now, I work closely with NVIDIA, and NVIDIA likes to break their users down in neat little categories because it fits a use case for them. And I'm challenging NVIDIA, saying, no, any user is going to become, in my opinion, either a superior power user or a task worker, okay? Sometimes they're using just a simple app, and other times they'll be using something that will require a lot of graphics. I can't differentiate. So I have to design a solution that's going to affect everyone, okay? So what does that look like for us? Well, first of all, we've implemented Teradici, the Apex offload cards, into every server. And that's designed to take just any, you know, CPU request and offload it. Just offload CPU, okay, onto it. That helps if we got a hyper-loading situation where we got maybe a DR environment or we're doing an upgrade or something. We need the power of the offload. However, also, I need something that can share the GPU offload for virtual desktops. And that is where the NVIDIA Grid K1 card comes in. Again, it enables the sharing of graphic in the data center side, not pushing those graphics out to the workstation. Now, there's more to this, so the story isn't as rosy as it sounds like I'm making right now. But my strategy is that it's an and. You need both of these technologies together. I ripped the slide off from Teradici with their permission, so I don't have to recreate it. But I added the and. In my opinion, you need both these technologies to make virtual desktops perform even better than they are today. Where I'm going now with graphics specifically is I did an analysis. Well, what does it really do for us? That's one heck of a tune. It's persistent. Anyways, what we did was I wanted to analyze what does one monitor connected to a virtual desktop look like, what do two monitors on a virtual desktop look like, and what do three monitors on a virtual desktop look like. And this is just running Windows. No graphics. I've got my email open. I don't have a browser session open. I've got GPU-Z running, which is the client-side analyzer for graphics. I've got a screen grabber open. And yeah, I had PowerPoint open because I was pasting this into PowerPoint. So I had those four apps open, and this is what I was seeing just with Windows running. So for one monitor, I'm offloading 14% onto the GPU card. For two monitors, I'm offloading 25%, and I'm offloading about 37% with three monitors running. On my desktop, I have three monitors, okay? And there's three monitors for a reason, so I can push the technology a little more. Now, with three monitors, as you can see, it's requiring quite a bit of GPU resources. Now, today, on our current production platform, those GPU resources are handled by the processors. And you can tell we still have kick-butt performance based on what our current platform can do. But notice, in our test systems, where I'm running, because I run typically on the test systems, I get all that offload occurring from my desktop running three monitors to the GPU card. But that's from the client side. What does it look like from the server side? NVIDIA's SMI tool paints a equally parallel graphic. I'm running on my PC 3 monitors, a bit higher, but it's still between 40 and 50% offload. 2 monitors, right around 30% offload. Now, there's an anomaly here where one monitor looks like it's higher, but it's still using GPU. This is what the SMI tool is seeing. I said, well, okay, that's your PC Ivers. You know, maybe that's something between the PC and the virtual desktop session. So I went to a 0 client, and I ran it on a 0 client, 1 monitor. Notice, sorry, 2 monitors. There's 2 monitors there, and there's 2 monitors there. Nearly identical. So the endpoint is inconsequential. That's how much GPU is being pulled off of the CPU and offloaded onto the GPU card. And again, back up to 1 monitor there. And then I'm always looking at, well, what does, when you instantiate a roam, when you roam from one device, because we roam often, what does it look like? Well, here's a roam when I actually disconnected from my 0 client, went to my PC with 3 monitors, and when I reconnected that, look at it, you can see the roam, whoop, everything dies, it picks back up and goes off. This is a phenomenal story that NVIDIA is now starting to deliver for virtual desktops. This is the benefit you will gain from NVIDIA. And then couple that with the Teradici offload card, so NVIDIA's throwing all this stuff back to your virtual session, and then the Teradici card takes all those graphic processing that's thrown back to you, and it's offloading that with its card. I mean, you can see where we're theoretically looking at possibly loading 150, 200 users in an emergent situation on a server. That's powerful. And now on that trending, it looks like we'll deliver the same performance that we're delivering today, but at a hyperscale. We haven't proved that yet, but that's where we're going. Okay, some of the concerns. And I'm speaking to also some of these later on in the NVIDIA healthcare user group meeting here. There's 4 things that it could do better for us, and this is why it's not in production. First of all, only 32 users per card. That's at the lowest GPU profile. If I use the K160Q profile, which is to support 3 or 4 monitors, that number goes down to 16 users per card. So you got a scaling issue. But the biggest issue that they have today is, so the first issue I can live with, just have more cards, but I can live with. But the second issue is a showstopper. Today, you can't vMotion users when you're using NVIDIA Grid K1. It's a technology limitation. So right now, we can't implement it. Why? Because we depend on the capability to vMotion users off our servers. We do upgrades during the day. We work with our systems integrator. Our systems integrator actually does our managed services for our virtual desktop solution. And they will partner with us, and they do upgrades on the infrastructure during the day. We vacate a server, do the upgrade, turn it back on, repopulate it. This is done regardless of whose session it is. This could be an administrator session, this could be a physician session, or this could be a surgeon session who's in OR. We're that confident in the technology. Our physicians demand that level of uptime. So today, sadly, I can't use the cards as I had hoped. Also, they can't release the resources. I like having my resource, but the problem is like with the 3 monitors, I have to allocate a very greedy resource management solution. 3 monitors, requires only 16 users per card. Well, if I'm roaming and I'm using my laptop or my tablet or any single monitor solution, I'm burning all those resources. It doesn't release them. Okay, so these are some of the challenges we have with NVIDIA Grid. Now, there doesn't mean those are going to be your challenges. So that's why I'm challenging the industry, saying, let's get NVIDIA to really deliver us a solution that we need. It may meet your needs, and you may find that this is just already good enough for you. Go for it, implement it. The stuff works. Now, what would it look like if NVIDIA did do what I hoped they could do? Notice our Snappy? They would impact 2/3 of our Snappy requirements even better. And this is my vision I have for NVIDIA. All right. I've spoken a lot. I've got, wow, 5 minutes left. If anyone has any questions, please come to the mics, ask a question like so everyone else can benefit from the question and the audience and the others. Or if you want to get to your next session, please leave quietly. Actually, the opening keynote. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Go you first, and then I'll ask him.
Have you noticed any positive correlation to HCAP scores with your deployment of VDI?
HCAPs. Put it this way, our HCAPs have not gone down. Matter of fact, they're very stable. So I think our technology has, if anything, built a stable base for our HCAPs to be improved on by procedural issues, not by technology limitations.
What all SSD array did you end up using with your VDI solution?
We use, for solid state, we use the HP 3-Power 7450. And we have our configuration of 2 active data centers. We run our VDI in 2 data centers. And we have 2 arrays, 2 identical configurations, spreading our workload across 2 of our data centers. Are connected by dark fiber.
So network infrastructure, did you have to invest in that in 2007, and have you continued to invest, to increase the speeds on the services to the customers?
Network infrastructure?
Yeah.
Well, we did something unique when we built our hospital. Our standard was 1 gigabit everywhere. So we have 1 gigabit everywhere, and it works very well. Now, that includes our outpatient locations. The outpatient locations are not only connected by 100 megabit connections, and we actually have still one also connected by 10 megabit connection. Even though those are a bit more constrained, they work very well, but we've tuned our PCIP environment very keenly to the spec that needs for the network to operate. Now, we believe in the 1 gig spec, and we also believe in appropriate VLAN sizing. I mean, you got to design the network appropriate to work it. If you don't, that alone can make VDI run poorly. Good question.
On the slide where you had, you showed your 5-second and 10-second delays for user experience, what was the tool that you used to gather that information? Was it manually collected, or?
Oh, the
orange and yellow.
Oh, that is a tool that Epic provides. That's a Epic tool. Come on. This one right here. Yeah, that is a Epic tool. That's called Epic System Pulse.
Actually, back one more, I think.
Oh, the black and white one? That's
right
that's also Epic System, but that's a System Pulse that runs on-prem. Okay. And there's a System Pulse that runs so the white slides were Epic's aggregate slide. This is just an on-prem slide. This is our internal System Pulse running.
Manual reporting then? Users called in and said, I had a 5-second delay?
No, actually, that report we can create any time. I can run that report any time internally.
Thank you.
Okay?
Do you have an average number of CPUs and memory assigned to each VM?
Oh, good question. I did not go through that. That's a whole other separate slide that I couldn't bring in here. Each virtual desktop session runs 2 vCPU and 3 gigs of RAM, because we actually still run, believe it or not, 32-bit Windows. Now, 32-bit, that's because of healthcare. We have your 4 apps that require 32-bit, so you're working a low common denominator. But notice, it still performs very well. Now, we've run 64-bit against our specs, equal performance. So it doesn't, again, the system size for Windows 32 and or 64-bit.
What method did you guys use to package hyperspace?
Someone's really insightful here. We do not package hyperspace. We bake hyperspace into our base image. That is also per Epic's best practice. Now, the reason why we bake into the best image, it's a 2-some gig, client. And trying to stream that down, it doesn't work well. Now, we are monitoring and working very closely with Epic on watching where the app volumes, solution goes, because that with the VMTK mount point, being able to snap that in at the application layering strategy, I think that's where you'll see a huge improvement in application delivery from that perspective.
So currently your recompose times are 6 to 8 hour downtimes for your
Actually,
hospital?
no. Oh, well, I see there's so much to talk about how our infrastructure works. And to be honest, if you all want to, you can stay a little further. I'll stay as long as there's questions, because there's no other follow-on session. I'm the guy between you and the opening keynote, so I'll go to the last soul here, okay? Our environment, as I mentioned, we run 2 active data centers. But what's unique that we've done is we run a shadow environment. I said we have 2,500 concurrent sessions. We have actually 3,000 production desktops spun up, 1,500 in each data center, to accommodate all of our production users. Those 1,500 have a shadow 1,500 also, but those are powered down. Now, how do we use those? Okay, so remember, we got production, 1,500 turned powered on, that's our production side. The powered down ones are built, they're composed, except for about another 200 we keep powered on, about 100 in each data center. Those are used by our super users and our other key users that will, they're testing the next version, the next image. So for those who use View, you see multiple sessions pop up. It'll be clearly labeled that that's your new version. It's running on, the new image. So we're using that. Now, our users have learned to spin up on their virtual, on their endpoint, be it 1, 2, or typically 2 or 3 monitors that they have. They'll have one monitor running the full View client, and then on the other monitor, they're spinning up Blast, and they're running the new test image within the image production View session. So now they're comparing and doing testing, SU testing for Epic specifically, making sure that everything passes out, or like we're upgrading either project management, whatever system we're actually upgrading, we're running that in parallel, old and new, live, powerful, fast. Now, here's the cool thing. We're updating that new image constantly. Okay, well, now we got it. Okay, we blast out, we have one golden image, we blast out the clones, re-update out the clones, reimage them. We have scripts that our desktop architect has written scripts. He just blasts them out through his scripting. He kind of basically just lets them go, and then he goes to sleep. When we go live, he just powers on the new desktops, starts powering down the unused desktops in the production version. When we are ready, so for example, we do a Epic upgrade. Typically it starts at 1:30 in the morning. We shut everyone off of Epic. We kick everyone out of View. We do an 80 group flip, because we assign 80 users 80 groups based on the pool. And then basically people can log back in. If it's just something in the View environment, it's 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute upgrade. So we have 500 sessions spun up in the morning, early morning. People start logging in. They can't log into the old pool, and off they go. Epic takes a little longer. Sometimes it takes 45 minutes. Sometimes it takes an hour and a half to run the cache updates. And then we're off and running, because they're just logging right back into the new pools. The elements are there. Now, we have the old pool. That's an immediate DR backup environment. We've had to fail back on the old session, so which was easy then. Yep, we tell, whoops, we got something wrong. We send out the broadcast, force everyone off, turn on the old pools, and they're back up and running. Quick. Okay? But that's the power of the shadow copy. Okay? Thanks for asking that question. Hand, I got a question there.
Good morning. Did you notice any performance difference if you're running a hardware client compared to a computer on wheels?
So, performance for the hardwired client versus a wireless client?
Yes.
Well, first of all, you need a good wireless environment. The wireless is the weak link, if you will. If you have a poorly designed wireless environment and you don't have enough density of your wireless antenna to handle the density, that's your weak link, because you can get kicked off. Our wireless environment is very stable. Matter of fact, a lot of people use wireless in a metro, but we had to tune it from a different angle. We also use a technology called Vocera. Vocera is basically a communication pendant. Okay, it's like a telephone, but you wear it as a pendant, and that pendant has a 40 millisecond power range. Well, laptops and Wi-Fi typically communicate from an 80 to 100 millisecond or higher, power range. So, but we had to tune it to the lowest common denominator, so we have excellent coverage, and we have to support VoIP because we're putting wireless VoIP for those things. So we've tuned our Wi-Fi, okay, to meet the needs. It works very well. Okay, he had a question next. Okay, and then, that was it. Okay, I guess you.
Yeah, well, I was interested in how you guys are using ZenWorks. Are you using that to keep your parent images upgraded, or are you pushing updates to the non-persistent desktops as the users are logged in?
Okay, ZenWorks has nothing to do with our imaging per se. Okay, we actually manage. We have a gold master image that is then put on each of our pools, and that is cloned from our pools. Okay, cloned into our pools. Okay, so what we use ZenWorks for is the actual application assignment. So go ahead and ask your question away, because I'll make sure I answer your question.
Okay, so you guys are using ZenWorks to actually push applications to the non-persistent desktop?
Perfect, exactly right.
Okay.
Because you don't know which desktop you're going to pick on, every Monday. You don't know which one you're going to be assigned. You're going to be assigned one out of this pool, but you don't know which one. So I have to deliver your apps to that desktop somehow. And that's the power of ZenWorks. Is that it takes the myriad applications assigned to you through an AD assignment and just plops the icons down to it. So it's very fast, very efficient. Okay? Now, I know that you can't do that with some of the application layering tools because you can't create, at least app volumes can't create that granular of a delivery vehicle for a container for every, an app volume for every application. But you can deliver that through ZenWorks that way. App volumes addresses it through, you just got to figure out which are your user profiles and try to populate them through a profile. But that's where ZenWorks is so powerful for us, because we can deliver it on a very granular scale.
Okay, thank you.
Answer your question? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you had said you could handle like 70-some users per node, and you could spin that up to like 150? Is that correct?
Yes.
How many grid cards are you actually using for that?
As I said, we're not using grid today in production.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, and the limitation of the grid card is maximum for their vGPU profile for the lowest or the highest density profile is only 32 users. That's the K120Q profile. Also, the K140Q profile handles up to that many users. But it does. So that's the max you can do. So you need to add another card if you need more user support. So if you want 64 user support, you got to add 2 cards, 3. If you want more than that, and if you got
So you're doing software-based video then?
Yeah.
Software-based
Today
graphics?
in production, I'm handling all vGPU through SVGA calls based on the processor.
Okay.
Okay. Yet, now when you play video today, I do get some, come on, AppSite, this still isn't where I was thinking you're going to be. Well, yeah, don't play video full screen. Come on, okay? Now, I can handle windowed video pretty well, and that now plays quite seamlessly. Though, I mean, you can suddenly see the CPU utilization being seen spike, okay? And, yeah, I fear every time when NCAA comes along, doggone it all. But I was hoping I could have that ready, but, what was kind of cool is, when the labs show that it's phenomenal. And that's where I'm pushing NVIDIA to really come alongside us. And I can appreciate all the help from my peers in my industry to push NVIDIA also from that angle, because it's very important to create a more density, but also enable the vMotion, which is a struggle. I mean, if Will Wade was in here, he'd come on, AppSite, this is new news, old news, quit beating us up for that, but I'm always looking for help.
A couple questions. Can you share with us who your single sign-on provider is?
Imprivata.
Okay. And are you supporting dictation software in the virtual environment?
Yes, we use Nuance, we use Dragon. We have Dragon working quite well. Okay, the reason why I say quite well, it works well from both a Zero client and a PC. And I've got physicians who are sold that say they work better from a PC, and some say it works better from a Zero client. I think it's perception. The problem Dragon has is the way how the driver works, and when you roam, sometimes the driver is corrupted in the roaming process. And yeah, we got to shut the application down, restart the application, and then it works, okay? I do get chin music about that. We've learned that if you, I don't want to get into some of the details. I probably got to be careful what I say here because I'm working something closely with Dragon, but there are ways to make it better for the physician experience in that specific use case. We just basically say, if a worst case happens, just shut it down and start it back up, okay? Because they can use it. But, yeah, they still grumble. But again, see, I like it when I got a physician beating me up about that versus it's slow, I can't, it pops every fourth word pops, that kind of stuff. That was just, that was horrible.
And the last question was, any applications that were showstoppers that required you to maintain and keep physical desktops?
Yeah. This is a application issue where, for example, licensing. I still have, I think we got 7 or 8 applications that they can't get past the concept of why would you not be able to reboot your virtual desktop to activate a license? They don't get non-persistent desktops. You show it to them, they go, well, fix it. No, we don't hand out static sessions just because your licensing practice stinks. On the flip side, I'm able to engage many of them, and they get it, and they go, oh, I get it, and then they work with us. And I worked with just one vendor recently for a spirometry application, and they got it, they worked with us, and now their application works on both, any desktop solution, including physical and virtual, because they changed licensing practice. That's the biggest thing. There are times a very unique requirement where a USB device has to be persistently talking to its CPU, if you will, or its driver, and when you throw a ROM at it, it wigs out. Yeah, that's probably the 2 big use cases. The only other use case where we actually don't use virtual desktops at Metro is places where we have a patient-centric workflow. So in other words, everything is user-centric. It's the user. The user is important. You get your desktop anywhere. But when you're seeing a patient, it doesn't work well. Okay. So our exam rooms are PCs only because they're patient-centric workflows.
Did you have a slide for your specs of your hosts?
No, I took it out. I have. If you give me a card, so I can email it to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Or actually, I can tune you in with one of our integrator guys here. They can send it to you also. But yeah. For those of you here, I also would highly encourage you to find a good integrator to work with. Okay. These people can save your bacon. Some people actually do well. I'm not going to. Now there's only a few people here. I believe highly in our system integrator since you asked, because who helped develop our specs. OST, Open System Technologies, is them. They've been through version 1 through version 4 of our virtual desktops. They know more ways how to break virtual desktops and then fix them than many integrators. But anyways, yeah, you can give a card. I'll you first. Print management solution. It combines several. We use LRS as a VPSX solution for managing our print fleet per se, but our roaming, we wrote a roaming solution. We use a homegrown roaming solution that enables the reconnection of your printers to your session based on your username from where you log in. It works really cool. It's actually very simple. I don't know why VMware hasn't bought it off of us yet, because they could easily implement it, okay? But that's a whole other story. But there are others out there that do that. But our enterprise solution is VPSX from LRS, and then we have our own homegrown. Okay? I know it's probably not the answer you wanted here, because roaming is one of those little catch-22s for virtual desktops. We built that 8 years ago when we built our own. We actually kept that technology. It's still very relevant. Okay?
I was also curious, as you're back to one of your original slides where you talk about having to have a strategy in place first, as you look at something like app volumes and being able to seamlessly deploy applications in that manner, what's your strategy around asset tracking, software tracking, making sure you don't over deploy a specific application, things like that?
I don't really want to answer that question because we don't have a good solution in play. We tried many solutions. They're always very labor intensive. We use AD groups with the manual count of licensing manual. That is how we do it primarily. It works. It's that elegant.
Yeah, thank you.
Hopefully app volumes can maybe help us with that, okay? Mr. VMware.
As a follow-up, how do you handle location-based printing with Epic?
What?
How do you handle location-based printing with Epic?
Location-based printing? Well, well, that's interesting. Because of the way how our roaming printer agent, homegrown roaming printer agent works, it maps the local printer based on the workstation, wherever you're at. So if you move from that PC over there to that PC over there, and there's that printer there by that stand would be associated with that PC, but that printer by that speaker would be associated with that PC, it makes that association behind the scenes for you. So when Epic prints its workflows, it says print to the local default printer. I map the default printer for you through our roaming printer agent. Pops up in Windows, and then it just uses Windows default printing.
Okay. And is that for the server-side printing or just the client-side printing?
Both.
For both?
Both.
Okay, cool.
Hi, I got a quick one. So when you were talking in your presentation, you said you had how many concurrent VDI sessions running? Average?
Concurrent VDI sessions that are logged in are roughly 1,900 to 2,100 for about 5,000 users.
Okay, so how do you handle that from the standpoint of amount of hosts with your spec and everything? You know, is there a magic number from the standpoint of guests per host to support that environment?
We target 80 users per host, knowing that if we're in a downtime situation, because one data center goes down, I have to move everyone into one data center.
Right.
So I can, we go to scale our hosts to support about 150 users.
Okay, and looking at your presentation, that was your host with the 512 gig, about 20 cores per host?
Yes. And actually, you can buy more now. You can buy,
Right.
If I buy now, I buy the 12 cores.
So you'd buy basically, would you buy a 4-socket with, let's say, 12, 15 cores, or would you keep it
Yeah,
that
I
way?
would buy as many cores as possible.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I would not skimp.
Yeah. All right, no problem. Thank you very much.
And use a RAM too. Don't be afraid of buying RAM. Okay?
I understand. Thank you.
In coming up with your solution for version 4 versus version 3, what was your expenditure from 3 to 4, and have you extrapolated that CapEx against the operation expenditures to figure out whether or not that investment actually will pay off versus just replacing them back to
Why didn't you
physical
ask
desktops?
that question earlier? That's a great question to ask.
Sorry.
No problem. We actually had a $0 increase. Now, we strategically lease our endpoint, our big solutions. So all of our solutions are leased. We use an OpEx lease, and we maximize the OpEx to the full FASB 13 compliance number of 44 months. So we lease our systems for 44 months. So every 44 months, we do it. And then, if you use technology to its fullest, well, first of all, you always, for the same price, seem to get more. Technology never goes down in price, but it gets to be more. So now, in our iterations of VDI sessions, of VDI versions, we've been about the same spend every iteration, but a little bit lower. My job is to always come below budget. So I'm always below budget, but I'm always maximizing the effectiveness. So for example, what did I do this last time? I built out the capability to incorporate the Teradici Apex cards. I bought NVIDIA cards, hoping like crazy that I guessed right. Well, guess what? I didn't quite guess right there. But we can, and those will work in certain use cases if needed. If also we get an application that comes in and says, I need GPU and I need a lot of it. We're ready for that. And I've gotten buy-in from our leadership that said, yeah, we'll use them in production knowing all the limitations if that's the case. So that's how I utilize that overhead. Otherwise, yeah, I could technically deliver even less. But our CIO always believes in delivering desktops, virtual desktops that make basically a physical desktop look wimpy. Okay? And we are there. That's because we maximize the strategy of the operational lease spend.
Thank you.
All right, I guess that's it for questions. The last 8 of you were very brave to stick around.